Unlike what you would expect from a game of this type, and of a Metal Gear game in general, Raiden doesn't actually represent the elite warrior in this world. He represents the average person. Because unlike Solid Snake, in the world of Metal Gear Solid and in our own reality, Raiden's story isn't unique.
So you see, you're a perfect representative of the masses we need to protect. This is why we chose you. You accepted the fiction we've provided, obeyed our orders, and did everything you were told to.
As much as the specifics of his character would lead you to believe otherwise, you actually have a lot in common with his experience, as does most people alive today, as everyone is being brainwashed by their governments, locally and on a global scale. Or as Kojima would have it, by the AI that runs the world. Everyone is being trained by VR or other forms of artificial reality, computer games, media, and simulations. And nearly everyone has gone through the Skinner box we call public school. Most people don't see it this way because they don't know where the modern school system originates. But there are more connections to the dog trained to salivate with bells in Skinner's experiments and the school bell ringing system we were processed through. As mentioned in my previous video, Kojima directly alludes to these experiments as well as the learned helplessness experiments of Seligman with many things throughout the game. One being the electrocution of both Snake and Raiden, who are the dogs in this metaphor, literally foxhounds, and the storytelling method Kojima employs using overwhelm to assault his characters and the audience to create a feeling of dread and helplessness to the situation. For more on this, you can watch my previous video titled "This Game is Conditioning You." The Prussian education system that our modern school system is based on originated in the early 17th century in Prussia, the country that became Nazi Germany, in no small part because of this education system. You see, Europe didn't used to be the united conglomeration it is today, but was made up of smaller city-states that were constantly at war. The problem with that, however, is the leaders of these countries were finding it harder and harder to get their citizens to actually go and murder other people in these wars, as mostly they would just go and do the bare minimum, often wasting bullets, missing on purpose, and generally not following orders. The Prussian school system was designed to create someone very much like Raiden, and you can hear echoes of this in the way Bruce Levine, the author of Resisting Illegitimate Authority, describes the outcomes of these schools. Quote, "By the time a student graduates, they have been bred to be passive, to be directed by others, to take seriously the rewards and punishments of authority, to pretend to care about things that they do not care about, and that one is impotent to change one's dissatisfying situation," which is another way to describe learned helplessness. The Prussian education system was brought over to Japan in the late 1800s and the US in the early 1900s by a Hegelian movement made up of people like Horace Mann, Daniel Coy Gilman, who was president of Johns Hopkins University, John Dewey, the Rockefellers, and G. Stanley Hall, among many others. They envisioned a perfectly controlled and scientifically perfected system they could use to manage and manipulate the minds of children. Sounds a little bit like the Patriots of Metal Gear Solid. As described by famous and award-winning American schoolteacher John Taylor Gatto, quote, "What shocks is that we should so eagerly have adopted one of the very worst aspects of Prussian culture, an educational system deliberately designed to produce mediocre intellects, to hamstring the inner life, to deny students appreciable leadership skills, and to ensure docile and incomplete citizens, all in order to render the populace manageable. This scientific management mirrors the dramatic brainwashing of Raiden and of humanity Kojima is dealing with in his games.
Your persona, experiences, triumphs, and defeats are nothing but byproducts. The real objective was ensuring that we could generate and manipulate them. It's taken a lot of time and money, but it was well worth it considering the results."
They are not only not far-fetched, they describe things that have been done to all of us and for quite some time.
Now we think for you.
We are your guardians, after all.
You want to control human thought? Human behavior?
Of course.
Another aspect to this metaphor I haven't touched on until now is the detail of Raiden's codename. Raiden, or Raijin, is the mythological Japanese god of lightning and thunder. Traditionally depicted with a fierce or frightening face and silver hair, he usually wields hammers and drums to create the thunder and storms of which he's associated. Raijin is birthed from the death of Izanami, the god and creator of creation and death. As the story goes, Izanami is dying. She flees into the land of darkness, Yomo no Kuni. Her husband, Izanagi, the creator of life as well as creation, follows her down into the dark land. The story is a bit more complex, but essentially, he finds her rotting corpse, out of which Raijin is being birthed. The horrible sight of his dying wife causes him to flee in terror. From shame at her husband seeing her this way, Izanami sends Raijin after Izanami to bring him back to Yomi no Kuni, presumably forcing him to live with her in the land of darkness. So let's break down these elements and how they play with the story at hand. Visually, Raiden has the silver hair of Raijin, but he certainly doesn't have the fierce or intimidating face traditional to the god of lightning. Raiden is certainly more baby-faced and innocent, often with an expression showing shock and confusion more than scary and fearsome. Interestingly enough, this could play into an interpretation of the original myth, as Raijin is initially a tool of Izanami, sent to do her bidding against Izanagi. This also adds another element to the Seligman electric shock experiment metaphor going on. As we know, the entire Big Shell mission is itself an experiment being run by the AI and the Patriots.
This is why we chose you. You accepted the fiction we've provided, obeyed our orders, and did everything you were told to. The exercise is a resounding success.
Raiden is birthed from the AI and the Patriots in that he was brainwashed and created by them in the same way Raijin was birthed from Izanami. He is being used as a tool to experiment on and shock the metaphorical dogs of Dead Cell, the terrorist group Raiden is here to stop, in the same way Raijin was used as a tool of Izanami. Raiden is also being used as a tool to shock us, the player, over and over as the story progresses. And although he doesn't beat a drum like Raijin, playing the game does trigger the controller to simulate a hammer on a drum as it shocks you, the player, over and over again, using the aptly named DualShock controller. There's also the further metaphor that Raijin is birthed from the death of the ability to create or be creative. As in the original myth, his dying mother is the god of creation or creative impulse in man. This works directly within the story of the game, as the AI's S3 program is designed to hamper human thought and creativity by controlling their access to knowledge and context.
The S3 is a system for controlling human will and consciousness. S3 is not you, a soldier trained in the image of Solid Snake. It is a method, a protocol that created a circumstance that made you what you are.
So you see, we're the S3, not you.
It also works in a way Kojima probably didn't see coming, in that the birth of AI, the mother of Raiden in the game, in the real world is feared to lead to the death of human creativity, as humans rely more and more on AI to do their creative work for them. One more aspect of Raiden is as a stand-in for the player, but more specifically as someone in 2001 playing this game in a world having just experienced the MKUltra trauma event of 9/11 and just starting to undergo the massive psyop of global government reactions to that event. Kojima even originally had Arsenal gear crashing into New York itself and coming close to, if not damaging, the Twin Towers themselves. This was cut from the game and isn't proof he predicted the 9/11 attacks, but he was certainly aware of the previous false flag attack on the World Trade Center in 1993 and had a finger on the pulse of the zeitgeist of the time in many ways. Fatman is himself a bombing terrorist, which is a direct reference to the World Trade Center bombings, and with how the war machine was using more and more propaganda to increase its power globally, which ties directly into the story of Metal Gear Solid 2. Throughout the game, Raiden, or Jack, if that even is his real name, is uncertain of what the truth about the past or present are, both his personal past and with the larger narrative. Just like everyone, both in the world of Metal Gear Solid and the real world, is being fed lies about history and the present day by their own governments and the ostensible global government that already exists. And even today, we are seeing how AI is being used to control information and shape opinion, just as was done to Raiden. In this way, Raiden isn't a hero, but represents what is happening to everyone in the world that could be playing this game. So what does Raiden's mission represent? On the surface, he is sent by Foxhound, a secret part of the US Special Forces, to stop a terrorist group called Dead Cell. Dead Cell have taken over an oil cleanup plant and have taken the president hostage. In reality, nothing about his mission is what it appears. The plant isn't really cleaning the ocean, it's actually just a cover for a secret Metal Gear. Dead Cell is actually working for an ex-president, but actually everyone, including you, are working for an AI that has set up this entire situation as a simulation to collect data, but it also basically runs the world or is on the verge of doing so. So at the end, Raiden learns what he's been told about the world and his place and purpose in it were empty lies. Through the course of the game, Raiden, in large part with the help of Snake, finds his own meaning and self-motivation. Each boss fight and challenge represents different aspects of the current state of the world and of the Empire and the ways it controls the world. I'm sure Kojima was thinking a lot about this from the point of view of America as being the Empire in this case. But I think it more accurately represents a transnational global government that is beyond countries and borders. Just as Kojima shows that private militaries and agents like Ocelot and Snake are beyond caring about countries or traditional allegiances, so are the ruling powers of the world. So this brings us to Raiden's first major confrontation in the game and our first boss fight, Fatman.
Life is short. Bombs tell the time with every moment of their existence, and nothing else announces its own end with such a fanfare. Glad you could make it. The party's about to start.
Fatman, a psychotic bomber, is best looked at as only half of a character. Peter Stillman,
a poor old man who got dragged along for this picnic,
a famous bomb disposal expert, and Fatman are two sides of the same coin.
Because the terrorist group here includes one of my students, the Emperor of Explosives, Fatman. He built an atomic bomb when he was only 10. I created him in a sense.
And much of the struggle of defeating Fatman exists as an existential struggle going on in the mind and past of Peter, and how his past choices have led to the creation of Fatman. Peter is the metaphorical father of Fatman. The basic struggle as laid out by Peter is that he gave Fatman the knowledge and the tools of bomb creation without giving him a morality to go along with it.
He wouldn't work by any rules except his own, and he followed them like a religion. I thought I taught him everything I knew. I have no children of my own, and I thought I found a son in him. I didn't teach him the most important thing I had to tell him. There are some things you have to pass on. The trick is to know which one. Right. All I taught him was skills. And now I have to stop him from using it to destroy us all.
This ties directly into a larger issue with modern society, in that parents aren't passing on to their children the morality they were given by their parents. In America, this largely takes the form of society moving away from religion and becoming atheists at a large number. Now, as an atheist myself, I'm no defender of religion, but America was founded by Christians who derived all of their morality from Christianity. As people become atheists, the vast majority are not replacing their morality with any concrete principles and have no code of defined ethics to pass on to their children. Most tend to replace Christianity with a belief in government as their god, whether they realize it or not. Whether Kojima meant to reference this directly or not, he seems to do so in that Peter works for the government, and the primary tragedy in his past that broke him was the bombing that wiped out a huge church.
A famous church got wiped off the map thanks to me, with too many lives inside. All I lost was this leg.
So we have the literal erasure of Christianity and a character who feels responsible for it that works for the government, who has failed to pass on any morality to the next generation. Fatman, it's hard to keep saying that. Fatman, due to his lack of morality or connection to anything bigger than himself, sees life as just a ticking clock full of meaningless time.
You're right on time, I see. I like a punctual man. Can you hear it? Hear this rhythm? It's the rhythm of time. And life. I used to hang around department store clock counters. Life is short. Bombs tell the time with every moment of their existence, and nothing else announces its own end with such a fanfare.
So he fills his life up with equally meaningless fun, represented by his love of alcohol, roller skates, and pleasant smells.
On every bomb he builds, he always leaves a trace of the cologne he uses.
He has no value for life because he has no greater context to put that life into, which he would have if he was raised in Christianity or with some higher purpose and morality. Life is nothing but a scientific equation to him, and came into existence with a big bang, not a creator's loving hand. So he sees no reason not to end life with an equally meaningless big bang. He is the worst possible result of someone raised by an atheist and a statist who believes in nothing but science and matter without a spiritual or principled ethic to ground him. His name, which I've had to repeat many times, is a reference to the biggest nuclear bomb dropped on Japan. An attack carried out by an uncaring government only worried about results and not the souls of those it kills. Like modern America, he is too preoccupied with his own pleasure and hedonism, growing fat and having fun with no care for the future or for the next generation. Because he doesn't care about heaven, he has no time for morality, and because he has no empathy, he doesn't care about the results of his actions and how it will affect other people. He only sees beauty in himself and his works of quote-unquote art, which are the bombs and terrorist actions he takes.
My suit? Oh no. I've nothing to wear to the party. I have beautiful hands. These delicate hands can craft works of art.
Like an abused child, he strikes out at the world and his father figure.
I'll go down in history as the man who beat Peter Stillman. That's the only reason I assisted them.
Like hell you beat Stillman. He had your number.
What did you say?
Desperate for attention, longing to be recognized as great and famous, with no objective principles to compare his actions to. He is willing to do anything to achieve those goals.
I die here and start my legend. Too bad you won't be around to see the movies. Laugh and grow fat.
Sounds like many modern influencers in American culture. He is a stark reminder that if we want to separate ourselves from the religion and the ways of our parents, we have to replace their moral codes with something of true value that we can pass on to future generations. Or else we will create the America we have today. This also seems to be the exact goal the architects of the modern schooling system had in mind way back in the early 1900s. They wanted to create an America and a world of endless war, overbearing government, and people desperate for attention by any means necessary. As an atheist, I think it's equally important to realize that statism is itself just another religion, and without a logical code of ethics, something like natural law or universally preferable behavior, our society will eventually crumble or explode in a big bang with someone like Fatman gleefully pulling the trigger. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see how I analyze the rest of this game or other games in the future. Have a great day.